Actually, not last week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, coming at you live. Not really live, but you know what the fuck is going on. Liddy Titty Tuesday. Say it with me now. Liddy Titty Tuesday, Liddy Titty Tuesday, Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Tuesday, Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Tuesday. Liddy Titty Tuesday. Puts the lotion in the basket, Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Titty Tuesday. It puts the lotion on the skin, Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Titty Tuesday. Or it gets the hose again. Bang. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Listen, it's not going to get better than that. Bringing a little bit of Silence of the Lambs in here. I'll never explain my soundboard to you, okay? That's just not what I'm going to do. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Liddy Titty Tuesday, okay? Listen, was that initially going to be the name that we were going to give the podcast? No, but sometimes you just got to go with it. Liddy Titty Tuesday. Liddy Titty Tuesday. How are you feeling on Liddy Titty Tuesday? Get that music off and don't you bring that fucking shit back again. Okay? Talking to my producer over here. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, how are we living today? Welcome. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a fabulous one myself. Doing a lot of recovery. You remember last episode, and I apologize to the people. Listen, we had an issue with our video where for some reason it cut out at the end of it. My camera seized up on me. And I lost all the footage from last episode. And I'm not one of these people who's like, I'm just going to re-record an entire episode. No, listen. Once it's done, it's done. All right. I would have felt like a fraud re-recording an entire episode for you. All right. And I think there's something special about everything that just happens in a podcast where, you know, there's some treasure in there. There's probably one line maybe that you enjoyed. So I'm like, why are we going to throw out this whole thing over just to record the video again? But anyway, I'm rambling at this point. Great weekend. If you are an MMA fan, you had a phenomenal weekend. UFC 266. It was a great time. Some high points, some low points, some depressing points, some highlights. Obviously, the main event, Volkanovski versus Ortega. Barn burner. There was a fight that headlined the prelims. Dvalishvili. There's like his name is like missing vowels. That was a phenomenal fight with Merab, and I thought that was phenomenal. I thought the whole card was great. The fight that stands out the most to me for its weirdness, its noveltiness, is Robbie Lawler versus Nick Diaz. Stockton, motherfucker. Okay. That's what happens when I put sound effects on here that I haven't even listened to before. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fight review. I'll never explain my soundboard to you, okay? Robbie Lawler versus Nick Diaz. This is a rematch from a fight that happened, I believe, 17 years ago. Think about that. 17 years ago. And Robbie Lawler still looks phenomenal. Phenomenal. At the height of his career. Listen, there is something to be said of Robbie's professionalism and his zenness. If you go back and you watch the post-fight conference with Robbie Lawler, even the pre-fight conference, he has such a zen approach to his life that is inspiring. Me being someone who has, you know, and here's the thing, in their previous fight, you see it where Nick Diaz slaps Robbie Lawler in the fight, that famous Stockton slap, and it just fucks with him, and you see Robbie Lawler get angry, and it ends up, I think, costing him the fight, because you get angry in a fight like that, you start going blow for blow, and then your chance of winning goes down to 50-50. It's like, who's going to connect while we're in the pocket just throwing? And it ended up being Nick Diaz in their previous fight. And he caught him with a short check hook, which is kind of crazy because Robbie Lawler won this fight against Nick Diaz with kind of the same check hook. It was crazy. But what I really like to see with Robbie Lawler, I've been a fan of him since back in the day. And I love seeing a resurgence of someone's career. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize, they hear, fair weather fans, people who haven't been around for that long, and they just see Robbie Lawler and they think this was his career. But there was a time where Robbie, he bursted onto the scene in early UFC, and then his career kind of fizzled for a certain point. And then he had a reemergence, and you hear things that are like unconventional, and you know that he had to go away and kind of rebuild himself. And he's talked about this, and one of the things I found fascinating is that he stopped sparring, and that's what kind of gave him longevity and a second run in his life, in his career, which is hard to come by in mixed martial arts because this sport is evolving so fast and people are getting better, and the career length of a fighter isn't very long. In reality, when you look at the numbers, you see some people and you're like, oh, they're a legend, they've been fighting. You kind of start seeing the same people over and over again. You think that's everyone, but really that's kind of like the 1%, 10% maybe, the fighters that you see a lot in the UFC. A lot of fighters' careers are usually a 1 or 2 fight stint in the UFC. They get them on that kind of let's see what happens contract. And a lot of fighters, the injuries and everything that happens in fighting, it's rough. It's a rough sport. And that's what I appreciate about Robbie Lawler, because he did something drastic, because he was a fighter, early on where he was kind of ran by his emotions. You would see it. And somewhere in there when he says, you know what, I'm done sparring, I know how to fight, it did wonders for his career because he stopped taking all that damage and he was able to lengthen the time of his career. And not only that, to go on and to become the UFC welterweight champion, which is phenomenal, defend his belt, and will always go down as now, a Hall of Famer, legend, former UFC champion. It's a very commendable thing. And I love to see, if you haven't seen it, if you're a fight fan, even if you're not, to see someone so zen in, YouTube, the UFC 266 post-fight press conference, Robbie Lawler. To see someone that is so zen about things that aren't in his control and not letting his ego run his answers, because you see him so respectful of Nick Diaz. You see him so even-keeled about his own career, where he's at, what he wants to accomplish, how he feels. And there was things that were thrown at him like the last week before weighing in. I think like the day before they confirmed it, that they were going to fight at 185 instead of 170. And what that means is that Nick Diaz probably wasn't close to weight, didn't want to go through the hardship of that weight cut. And it would have benefited Robbie being like, no, let's fight at 170. I've already been getting down to it. It's probably going to benefit you more if we don't cut weight. But instead of caring, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm good with it, and we took a very zen approach of it, didn't say anything. And there's something so respectable about that. And that's like a zenness that I want to reach in my life, is being so unaffected by things that are out of my control. And I think that there is, that's probably what bugs me a lot sometimes is, and that's something I've been working on. If you guys want to get deep and you guys want to get into it, yeah, let's peel back the onion a little bit. I didn't even know what the song was before I played it. Yeah, what do we got here? Yeah, stupid. Let's keep going. I heard this good thing with Rosebud Baker, hilarious comedian, and she was talking about she had been through some stuff when she was younger that was actually pretty similar to stuff I went through. And she said that she felt this thing with control where she felt responsible for a lot of things that were out of her control as a kid. And that's something that I've experienced, where I felt very in control of what other people were feeling and having to take care of people and do certain things that should have never even been in the grasp of my reality of me as a kid, considering this is my responsibility. So from a young age, I always had this feeling of I needed to take care of other people that weren't my responsibility. And I had to try to not only handle my own stuff, but handle other people's stuff, no matter what it was. So it gave me this messed up perspective on what was within my control. And because I've always, I try to be like that, it's easy to say, I'm only going to focus on things that are with my control. But when you have a false sense of what you think is in your control, that quote doesn't really matter. So it's been like a thing in my life, especially in the past couple of years. I feel like the pandemic really sparked a lot of mental changes in people, which I think is great. I think that in America, there's like this weird thing. It's becoming a fad, and it's almost oversaid about mental health. But I think the truth is that it's such a necessary thing, and don't let people tell you that it's just like all these millennials, these Gen Zers with their anxiety and their stress and everything. But it's like, you got to work through that shit. I feel like the most toxic people try to like water down your level of what you're experiencing. But within the last couple of years, I feel like I've really started to reevaluate boundaries, reevaluate what is within my control, what made me believe certain things were within my control and I was responsible for. So it's like this big thing I've always said in life about how you should have, you're responsible for your ship. Whatever you consider your ship, that's your person, who you are. And, if you're with someone you're going to spend your life with, that's your person. That's your, they're on the boat with you. I got my dog too, but that's my ship. But for some reason, I was fucking anchoring my ship to other people's ships and trying to hold things and just doing all this weird shit. And I was just stressing the whole system. So you boys have had to cut ties with a lot of those ships. And while it's kind of a toxic and turbulent experience, I think it's a good thing. And I think it's beneficial in the end. And seeing how people respond to when you do want certain boundaries back and certain, control back over your own life, where you're like, hey, I can't let this affect me. Seeing how people respond to that is usually a telltale sign, if they're a good person, that should move on with you in the next chapter of your life. Bars, cutting ties, bars. All right, ladies and gentlemen. And you're like, Evan, what got you going on this? Was Robbie Lawler's zenness in his post-fight conference. Just kind of the way he is about something as crazy as fighting, not becoming so emotional with it, not really caring, not letting your ego get involved. And that's something that I am trying to get better at, and not allow myself to get caught up in bullshit that doesn't matter to me. I talk a lot about on this podcast about rocket fuel. You only got a certain amount, baby. You only got a certain amount. And it's like these distractions that affect you are different for everyone. Distractions like, if it's drama or whatever it is, it looks different to every single person. So what's my distractions might not be the same to you. Usually my distractions come in the form of me thinking I'm supposed to be doing the right thing and something's my responsibility that isn't, Yours could be completely different. Your distraction could be like, hey, I like to jack off with cocoa butter too much, and you just got to do what you got to do. You'll figure it out, baby. But 266, let's get back to it. The Nick Diaz fiasco. I say fiasco with all due respect. Nate and Nick Diaz are, I don't know if there'll ever be a couple of fighters like that again. I don't know if this new era of fighting allows for that. They're completely organic and original entities. They grew up in a very hard lifestyle, and they're both socially awkward and they don't enjoy talking and being in the public spotlight, but they dogs when they get in that cage and they fight. And you see Nick Diaz fighting now. I think he had 6 years off. And this is kind of when it starts, you don't really want to see it, is while it was competitive at certain points, he never really did things. And you saw moments of greatness in Nick Diaz and kind of the old Nick Diaz. But he looked a little bit slower. It could have been the cage rust. And it's just, time is a motherfucker. Time is a motherfucker. And it seemed like his heart wasn't really in it as much. And, I don't think I'm speaking out of school, because I'm one of the last people you'll ever see talk shit about a fighter, because I respect the process and what they're sacrificing. And I know that should come with a certain level of respect to it. But him talking about fighting the entire week leading up to this fight, he talked a lot about how he didn't want to be in there. He didn't want to fight. He was scared. And, it's something that he talks about a lot, but he was just being very honest. I think 99.9% of fighters are scared when they get in there. And that's what makes it so beautiful and respectable, is that everyone's scared. And that's like the thing about life is, even when people ask about stand-up, they're like, oh, how can you just do that? And they're like, dude, sometimes, like if I haven't been on stage in a week, I'm about to go on stage, butterflies. I get fucking nervous. I don't want to do it. Feel sick. And then I'm just like, gotta fucking do it. So like, that's the thing, is like, these fighters aren't just completely fearless, but that's what makes it beautiful, is they're willing to risk that. They know what's at stake, and they still go in there and do it. So I applaud anybody who does that. Anybody who does anything to risk anything in life, you got plenty of heroes, plenty of tough people out there doing stuff. Hats off to you guys. Just fucking rocking it in the free world. Let's change the speed of this a little bit. I got into a question in an altercation with a friend this weekend, and we started debating this. What animals could I beat up safely? And I thought about this, and I mean, we had a disagreement. I know I'm fucking up anything coming out of PetSmart. Anything stock, anything domesticated. I think I'm handling it pretty well. I think most rodents don't stand a chance. And then you got to think about, what kind of arena are we going to be fighting in? Am I going to fight a squirrel in a forest? It might be a little different. They might have home field advantage. It could get different. Are we talking about multiple squirrels? Like, that's what's kind of crazy if you think about it. There's a number of squirrels that could kill me. We just don't know what that number is. There's obviously probably, I could throw out a number and it'd be like, yeah, that's definitely like 1 million squirrels. I ain't standing a chance. They ain't hearing a peep out of me. Okay. 1 million squirrels. But where's the line? Could I take 10 squirrels, a fight to the death? If you put us in an arena, I think I'm taking all 10 out. Okay. You get to 20. I still think I'm doing pretty good at 20. Because guess what? If I start landing on them, I get a rhythm. They back me up against the cage, and I'm just, I think I'm taking out 20 squirrels, no problem. Things start getting a little weird at 50. All right? 50. But now we're going down a different path of how many it would take. How could I take a dog? I could take a dog. But could I take every dog? That I don't know. I remember there was like this video. Do you guys remember Faces of Death? I think it was. Where it was like those weird VHSs that were lurking around in the early, 90s, early 2000s, were like VHS tapes of these really disgusting videos. There was like a video of one of it was a mountain lion versus a pit bull. And the pit bull killed a mountain lion. Blows my mind. I would have never thought that would have happened. But that made me wonder, could I beat up every animal? I don't need to kill it. I just need to win. Okay, we could have certain rules. There has to be a limit. There's pretty big animals out there. Could I kill a lion? The story about this mountain lion keeps coming up to me. Could I beat up a mountain lion? I don't know. I don't know if I could beat up a mountain lion. I think that's one of those things that you just got to get in there and find out. I need to get my paws on one to really feel the strength, the level, all right? I need to spar with one. We need to put some gloves on it, a little mouth guard, and I just need to roll around with it for a while. I need to feel its power its technique, what it's going to go for, you know? We could see what could happen from that. I wanted to start bringing these back. These were questions for the podcast. I know I haven't been posting them, but I have stock responses. And someone asked me, if I could do anything without the chance of failure, what would it be? I think about this a lot. What would I do? No chance of failure at it. And honestly, I don't know how to take that question. I have multiple answers. It's either going to be, I want to be the most successful space traveler of all time. That's such an ego thing. But I mean more in the sense of I want to be the most successful space traveler in the sense that I explore farther and more, like I'm just on the cutting edge of exploration in our known galaxy. That sounds phenomenal to me. And there was no chance of failure, so no chance of my ship blows up. I can just be out there rocking it in the free universe, travel in the world. I don't know, getting weird with aliens if I find them, you know? I feel like that's okay. That's not considered cheating if you fucking alien. Like, I feel like cheating laws should apply just to Earth, or at least in our known galaxy. You're like, yeah, but that was in a place of different time and dimension. Like, what if I hit some weird paradox vortex and I'm in an alternate universe? I'm like, yeah, but that didn't really happen here. Technically, we weren't together at the time that I was in a different universe. That was an alternate reality. You were with someone else at that time. I don't think they can be mad at you. But then it also brings up the question, what would I do with an alien? And what if my expectations of an alien weren't what I thought it was? What if it's just some weird sludge thing? I mean, I'll give it a go. In the name of science and exploration, I feel like you got it in that situation. An alien starts getting frisky on you, you got to at least, what am I going to be rude in that situation? You just got to see where the night takes you. But in reality, yeah, I think I would want to do some kind of space travel. You think it's cool, you know, like if it was a simple thing where it was like, I could just go to NASA and be like, hey, yeah, let me be a space cadet and let me do all the fun shit. Yeah, great. I feel like 1% of that time that you spend as a space traveler is actually the fun space traveling stuff. They're going to have me fucking reading books about biology and shit and doing fucking weird preparing me for outer space. I don't need any of that. I'm professional. My initials are ET. I'm extraterrestrial, baby. All right, I'm ready to go. Put me in, coach. But I don't want to do all the other bullshit. I don't want to go to school for it. I don't want to do this or do that. Just let me show up for game time. I'm like Allen Iverson. You talking about practice, coach? You want to talk about practice? Nah, I'm a game time player, baby. All right. But I think in reality, if there was something else that I would want to do that was more in the grasp, dude, I might just want to be the most successful fishing guide. Just living my life on the river, on the lakes, taking people out. There's nothing more fun to me. And this is like probably a telltale sign that I need to get more back into fishing. But I love taking friends for like their first time fishing or at a new spot, you know, getting them into it and teaching them how to tie hooks, where to cast, how to cast, and then watching these motherfuckers reel in their first fish, filming it for them so they can watch it. You just see that glee. There's like childhood wonder that comes back in the grown adults when they're reeling in a fish. That excitement, that lure, no pun intended, you know, to that feeling. That might be the greatest thing ever. And that's what I might want to do, spend my life. This whole stand-up thing, why I'm over here doing this fucking grind when I could just be out there fucking staring at a river somewhere, making money. That's got to be the greatest job ever, just being a fishing guide. I would love to even just tag along with the fishing guy. I'll film it. I got a video production company, baby. We'll film some shit for you. Just let me have some fish. All right? I'm trying to get my beak wet, you know? Another question that I got. What are red flags that you look out for in everyday life? Red flags that I look out for in everyday life. That is like a great question. For me, I think in everyday life, my senses are pretty tied into sketchy people. If I see weird mannerisms and lurking kind of things, that kind of always stands out to me. It was a weird thing that happened last week at our complex, is that there was this guy walking around with his dog, and he didn't have his dog on a leash. And my girl calls me the LP because I'm the leash police around here. All right. Listen, we got rules and you fucking follow them. Why? Because we're all in this together. You clean up your dog's shit and you keep your dog on the fucking leash. Because you know what ends up happening? There's been like 3 dog fights out here. And it's because people will like let their dog off the leash in the complex. And I'm like, dude, what are you thinking? And it's always the people that don't have their dog trained well that want to keep their dog off the leash. If you're someone who has like, and that's the thing, I'm fine with someone if they have their dog super trained to where it like walks next to them. I'm like, man, do whatever. I don't give a shit because you're responsible. But those people don't even want to do that because they're like, yeah, but it's not just about my dog. Here's what happens all the time is I'll see someone just drop the leash on their dog and have their dog kind of walk in, letting it go. And then their dog sees my dog and takes off running at it. And then they're just like, Biscuit, come back. And then their dog is like, not. And then my dog's going apeshit because it's like, yo, this dog's trying to gang fight me. I'm from fucking Palmdale. I'm ready to fucking fight to the death, brother. Ready to die. I'm ready to die for my clan. Are you? Anyway. But there was this guy who was walking around here and I kept seeing him every day. And I had never seen him before. So I was like, oh, this must be a new person. But every time I would walk out, he would look at me and then he'd look away. It was never like a greeting thing. And I was like, that's kind of odd. Like, all right, well, because I at least acknowledge people here. But he seemed a little sketchy. And then it was during a time where our fence was broken down. I guess someone ran their car through a fence. Like, hey, buddy, that's not the entrance. And there was like an opening in here. And I noticed this guy around the complex a lot. And he would constantly be looking at people's places. Like he was always looking in a weird way. And then we had packages delivered during that days where he was here. Packages stolen. We got packages stolen right from outside of our apartment. And never saw that guy again. And so that was one thing that I was looking out for. Like it's sketchy stuff. If I see someone like not acknowledging people right, that's something I look out for. But if you're talking about red flags in general, I look out for red flags of people who have conversations with you that are just waiting for you to stop talking so they can talk. That's always the thing. And I mean, I know I have a podcast that I do a lot of talking on, but that's the name of the game, baby. This is when I have guests on here, I try my best to make sure we have a conversation where I'm listening to what they say and then I'm replying based on what they were talking about, And I try to do that with everyday conversations. I never try to think, oh yeah, how can I make this funnier? How can I just get my shit in, That's always a weird thing when people want to just keep hammering you with information and talking and talking and talking. And they're using you as like just a fucking thing that they're just throwing what they want to talk about or getting their own toxicity out. I always keep an eye out for those kind of people. The people who are like, they just want something from you. The people who like weirdly try to flex with their ego or what they got going on. I usually tend to try to avoid those people, That's something I kind of keep an eye out for, is any kind of weird narcissistic or, you know what the fuck I'm saying? You know what the fuck I'm saying. But that's always a good thing. I'm actually, a lot of people think I'm like this super extrovert. When like, I'm really not. I'm kind of an introverted person, especially if I don't know you that well. I'm kind of pretty reserved at first, especially in public settings. If we get into I'm completely fine, open to conversations. I don't mind them at all. But I'm never going to be like in a crowd and be like, yeah, I need to try to get everybody's attention. I'm going to do this, blah, 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 So I'm super observant, and that would be like my thing. Like if you're like just taking your surroundings is a big thing that I do. And that really helps me from, getting out of weird situations before they happen. Because that's another thing. People think just because if you have any kind of background in fighting or train or do anything that I'm just ready for fights. It's literally the opposite. It's literally the opposite. Like, I don't go anywhere wanting to fight at all. If a fight's going to break out, I'm like the last person who wants to get involved. Because I'm just like, what's the point? It's going to be such a stupid thing. Either you're going to get hurt or you're going to get in trouble. That shit's not cool when you're an adult. Maybe when you're fucking 15, 16. Yeah, I had a blast doing that. Fighting over anything. It didn't matter. People bump into you. You're just like, all right, let's fucking go. But that's been like a weird thing that I've always kind of had, is trying to avoid those kind of situations before they happen. I usually have a really good sixth sense of that. And it's because I'm observant. There's no built-in chakra or aura in me where I'm just like, trouble is arising. Like, I can't sense something from the future. It's just, I can tell when like vibes and moods of like the room is starting to change and people are starting to get weird, and I'm like watching it happen. I'm like, oh, this is going to overflow. And then usually it would. There was quite a few times in Puerto Rico where I'd be at a club and it'd be like, you know, it'd start like after like 1 a.m. in a club in Puerto Rico. Solid chance. Like, usually that's when you want to start getting out of there around like midnight. Start changing the scene. All right, now it's time to go get some food and hang out on the beach and just drink some medalla, you know? Living the dream. But after like 1 a.m., especially 2 a.m. in the club, it's only a chance for things to go bad, because people are usually pretty liquored up at that time. They don't necessarily have the same amount of optimism that, you know, especially dudes, that more girls are going to show up. Pickings are getting slim. They're getting frustrated. And there's just a bigger chance for things to go sideways. And it usually would happen. I went to, you know, nursing school in Puerto Rico, which was, my classes were predominantly girls. And I usually would end up being responsible, talking about going back to me having to be responsible for a large group of girls. And there were so many situations where, like, I remember leaving a couple girls in the club because they didn't realize the weird shit that was about to go down. And I literally walked out the club. I was like, listen, I'm leaving because this is happening with these people and you're not acknowledging it. And then, of course, they see it get weird and then like chase me down the street. But I usually would be responsible for like a big group of girls, and I would always be like, hey, let's head out now. And they're like, no, we're having fun. And then, of course, 5 minutes later, fight breaks out, or we're finally walking back. Dude, there was a time we were walking back and a couple of the girls were like angry that we were leaving. And all of a sudden you just hear from the back of the club, pop, 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 pop. And they're like, oh shit, Evan's a fucking savant. Just fucking my spidey sense going on. Long-winded reason, just saying, be observant. Kind of know statistics of being like, yeah, usually after this time, things start getting weird. Oh, you're going to this bar to watch the fights? Okay, just know that in this kind of environment, there's a solid chance dudes are going to get drunk, feel real tough in that environment, start peacocking a little. They want to feel tough, putting their chest out and be like, yeah, I could do that shit. Hey, that octagon shit, those submissions, they don't work on me. Try it. You know, I'm a fucking beast. They don't even let me in the gym. You know, those guys just asking for trouble. But ladies and gentlemen, what the fuck is this music? I want to thank y'all for listening to this episode. We got into it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It helps the podcast. Tell a friend about it if you enjoyed it, made your willy tingle, hey, made you giggle. Good. That's all we're looking to do. And remember, no matter what, ladies and gentlemen, I still love you.